That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Welcome to theviewfromapew.com and KTIA Radio 99.3 FM. I'm your host, Reich Plekas, each and every Wednesday and Thursday from here on out on theviewfromapew.com and KTIA at 3 p.m. Join me as I present the greatest gospel artists, small groups, musicians, pastors, authors, apostles, and more, bringing to you the clear and concise Word of God locally. Join me, www.theviewfromapew.com and KTIA Radio 99.3 FM at 3 p.m. I hope you'll join me to spread the word, powered by G-Fest and webcast1live.com. We are back here at the View from a Pew and KTIA 99.3 FM with Prophet Antonio Schroeder from Baltimore, Maryland, and his lovely First Lady wife as well. And the question that came up right before we went to station break there was, is there a false prophet, and is that false prophet walking among us today? And I won't read the last part of the question. Bob already knows that. But do you believe that since we are living in the last days that there is a false prophet amongst us?
I believe in 2 John, 1:7 talks about the deceivers enter into the world, talking about the false prophets. So who confess not that Jesus is the Christ in the flesh. Said this is the deceiver of the Antichrist. Antichrist already exists even now. And Antichrist is exactly what it is, Antichrist. This is the spirit of a false prophet, of a person that's actually coming in which that's here that is opposes against the spirit of Christ, and oftentimes we have people that's in the church, we
There's a lot of things about me you don't know anything about, Daddy. Things you wouldn't understand. things you couldn't understand. You don't want to get mixed up with a guy like me. I'm a loner, Daddy. A rebel.
And the Holy Spirit spoke to me. The gift of faith came on me. He said, kick her in the face with your biker boot.
What you talking about, bro?
You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are.
Now, let me talk to the young people here. You are prey, P-R-E-Y, for these churches. Brand new believers, pray for these churches. P-R-E-Y. It's sexy. It's cool. Calvinism, man. Because I got God in a box.
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
The gospel's not something we live. It is an announcement of what God has done in Christ through the cross by grace to give eternal hope to those who have faith in Him. Please, continue.
This is a Rebels Cause Radio with Jonathan Wedgeworth and your host, the tattooed freak of a man, Dan Frye.
That is right. This is a Rebels Cause Radio. I am that tattooed freak of a man. My name is Dan Frye. They call me Papa Tat on the chats or on the blogs where I blog about things like twerking. Joining me in studio today, of course, is Mr. Ever Faithful Jonathan Wedgeworth. Also here, the sporadic but always angry Kelly.
Grr.
Yeah. Hey, you're the one with the email address, Angry Kelly. I just get to use it.
You know what? Story behind it, but that's all right.
You look angry.
You do. You look very mean.
What?
You're mean.
What are you talking about?
He's the old guy that you don't really want to.
I'm not old. I'm seasoned,
step on
brother.
his.
There's a difference.
When you were a kid and you didn't want to go on this one guy's lawn. It was Kelly.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I had people when Gran Torino came out. Like all my friends were like, "Bro, that's gonna be you when you're old. You're gonna be that old man on the get off my grass." And I was like, "Man, I need to work a little harder or something." I guess. Spread the love.
So we've got an interesting show tonight because I really have no idea or direction on this one as to how it's going to go.
That's different as opposed to...
Well, normally we have an idea of how it's going to go even if we lack the direction.
Gotcha.
This is a conversation we're going to have with a professing atheist. Now, normally for those that are listening, you know that we like to just kind of bring on fellow Christians, talk about what they're doing, introduce you to them, take some aspects of their ministry or their work or whatever we're excited about that they're doing and talk about it. And then later on, we kind of get into some theological issues. Well, we can't really get into theological issues with an atheist per se because that's not really appropriate. Well, he's an atheist, so we're not really seeking to really lift up what he's doing as much as just converse with him about his atheism and maybe his perspectives and stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of an interesting conversation, maybe slow going. We apologize for that right off the bat.
This conversation could turn into anything.
Yeah, and so we're excited to have it. This is the first one we've actually invited on. We've had an atheist call in, but we've never actually physically invited an atheist on the program. And so we give you that caveat that we don't know how it's going to go either, but we asked for you guys to stay and listen. And it is a call-in show if you're listening on a Thursday. We are on the radio, so if you're listening to us on Saturday, you've already missed it. But those that are listening live on the interweb, you can call in 1-855-244-0077 with your questions and comments. We do ask that you remain sane and calm and stuff like that because it's probably it's just best for everybody.
Don't make me angry.
Yeah, you don't want... We'll stick Kelly on you.
No colorful metaphors.
So the good news is that we were going to talk about Miley Cyrus.
And if this goes well, we won't have to.
That's the plan. I did blog about her, so everything that I was going to talk about already on the blogs. Luke's got a couple blogs up. John...
hasn't blogged in a while.
No, which is okay because I didn't have time to read any more books. So, anyway, and Kelly's never blogged. I don't even know if you have blog passwords.
I don't blog on.
You have your own blog, don't you?
I have my own blog.
So you do blog. So just get up. We'll get you some logins. Get up on the thing and just blah blah blog. I mean,
that's a dangerous proposition to make
and if it goes bad, then we'll just take it away.
Yeah, that's.
You can always delete your account.
Oh, there you go. So you want to silence the man when he says something you don't agree with? Wow,
it's the media.
What a concept.
It's just like any other media. You know what I mean?
So we're going to bring this guy on. I believe he is on Skype. We had a little bit of confusion trying to connect to him earlier. Now, his name is Christopher Maute. He is the host of one of these underground YouTube things, I guess is the best way probably to describe it, the Meeting of the Minds. And he has had our good friend Dustin Seegers on. I did watch that interview. Had a fairly friendly exchange, at least what I saw. Now, he could have cut out the part where they were cussing and screaming at each other and threatening to kill each other, but at least it wasn't on the clip I saw. So I'm hoping to mimic just that clip at least. Christopher, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So I don't normally get a whole lot of atheists that reach out and ask me to be on their show and then want to cross-pollinate. So that was kind of interesting. Give me a little bit of a background as to who you are.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I am a husband to my wife, and I love her very much. I am an atheist. I am the host of the show Meeting of the Minds, and that is a Ustream show that is hosted by the New Covenant Group, which is a universalist ministry, and I am one of the token atheists on that, and one of their goals is to bring together theists and atheists and having a respectful and civil dialogue. So as one of the token atheists, I do have this show where I bring atheists and theists on alike for the purposes of exploring their individual differences and making them shine in the interview format of my show. So a little bit about myself. I work in the field of science, in the particular field of experimental psychology, even more specifically, and this is what makes me very interesting at dinner parties. I work in a lab that studies the psychology of the sense of smell. So when I go to dinner parties, I usually have a lot to talk about because people are very interested to tell me about their stories about pheromones and aromatherapy and things like that. That's my background. I have a master's degree in informal science education. I also play bass. I love to play funky bass. A little slap technique is one of my favorite things.
I'm a bassist too. What kind of bass do you play?
I'm an Ibanez guy.
Really? What kind of Ibanez do you have?
Ibanez sound gears.
Okay. All right.
I was able to get a really nice Ibanez sound gear. I actually played with, are you familiar with Steve Vai?
Yes. You played with Steve Vai?
No, I actually auditioned for Steve Vai. We might be able to get into that story if you want. But Steve Vai, of course, when he tours, he needs several other guitar players to cover his background parts. And one of his background guitar players' name is Dave Weiner. I played with Dave Weiner.
Okay.
And Dave Weiner was endorsed by Ibanez, and I was able to get a really nice 6-string bass through Ibanez when I was with Dave Weiner. So that's one of my prized possessions.
So this is
that.
I'm sorry. This is one of those $2,000 jobbies, not one of those $600 ones.
Well, I was able to get it. I was able to get a $2,000 jobby for pretty much a $600 price point. So
that's a good deal.
That's one of the reasons why I love it so much. On top of the fact that it's a beautiful instrument. So that's pretty much where my story. I mean, unless you have any more specific questions, I am an atheist. I was raised Catholic, and as George Carlin says, I was raised Catholic until I reached the age of reason, although that doesn't really apply to me because even at 42 years old, I can't really say that I've reached any age of reason. It's still an exploration for me. I'm still on the journey. So that's me.
So let me see if I can kick off a conversation here. So
let's go.
As I'm kind of meandering as to what exactly we're going to talk about, and we conversed a little bit on email as to I'm kind of at a loss as far as where I would take this conversation. One of the things that did hit me is a lot of times, and in one of your statements, you said you said you would be open to talking about kind of the standoffishness or the arrogance of some atheists. And first of all, I don't necessarily think that's typical of atheists, and so I don't really judge the group by the few that I have interacted with that are negative. But I actually kind of wanted to flip that around, and I wanted you to tell me about an experience that you have had with a Christian, perhaps maybe a witnessing encounter or something like that, where you felt overly offended or unnecessarily offended, and break that down for us so we could talk about that experience maybe a little bit more in depth.
Sure. I can't say that I've ever really taken offense to anything that a Christian has said to me. But I can tell you a personal story about a very good friend of mine who he and I were on our spiritual journey together in our late teens and early 20s. And surprisingly, he became a born-again Christian. And his journey led him there after. So we're both from the East Coast, Pennsylvania. And he, with his buddy, drove to the Midwest, and they listened to a book-on-tape version of C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity.
Sure.
And they listened to it over and over and over again for the whole ride there. And by the end of their journey, they were persuaded by the arguments presented in Mere Christianity, and became born again and got, rebaptized, and did everything, found a church, and and he called me and started proselytizing to me and was concerned about my soul. And while I didn't take offense to it, it really took me off guard, more so than as if a stranger would have done it, because I knew this guy so well, and it really deviated from my expectations of how I knew this person. And he was coming at me with a lot of arguments that I was really unprepared for. And his worry about my soul and living the Christian life and wanting to, convert me and proselytize to me and witness to me, it really took me off guard. To a point where, he and I kind of were able to still talk for a while, but the topics of conversations kind of had to be, certain topics of conversation certainly needed to be circumvented. And he became an apostate of that, and he is now an atheist again. And so, we are able to, actually, I interviewed him on one of my shows on Meaning of the Minds. His name is Keith. So if you were to find him on my YouTube channel, you'd be able to hear more in detail about that story. But I think that where you're going with this, for the sake of conversation, is the things that he was saying to me that kind of caught me off guard, just to give us some grist for the mill. I guess it was the certainty with which he knew what he thought he knew, and the obligation he felt he had to warn me about the certainty he had about his understanding of the afterlife, and his obligation to tell me about it and warn me about it. And a part of that I thought was charming, because if I saw somebody who was about to walk off of a cliff, I would feel morally obligated to say, hey, you're about to walk off of a cliff.
Sure.
So I totally see that, but I didn't see that cliff as existing.
Sure.
I guess is the way that I would put it. So that part of that really is what took me off guard. Now, and that was, like I said, I'm 42, so that was 20 years ago that happened. But in more recent times, I guess the things that really get my heckles up is when I go onto a forum, and now that I'm a little bit more comfortable with myself, in my skin, in my worldview, I'm much more comfortable with people having their perspectives. For me personally, it only seems to really become an issue when it seems to encroach on science literacy. Okay. So that's really the only area that I'll push back on. When it comes to everything else, I have a much more open mind, and I'm much more interested in finding out what people's individual differences on their perceptions of reality are. And I think that's why I consider myself super lucky to have the show that I do, because I essentially have a platform to invite some of the most interesting people that I think exist and ask them about their opinions.
All right. Well, when we come back, I've got a little bit of feedback, and I had some questions.
I'll have some questions too.
This is a Rebels Cause Radio. We're doing something a little different today, but we still encourage you to read your Bibles, to go to church, to love Jesus, and forsake the world. This is Rebels Cause Radio, and we will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Run around with two legs like an
This is Dan Frye, host of A Rebel's Cause Radio, and I'm here to ask you a question. Are you tired of being marketed a second-rate product at a first-rate price? Or perhaps more importantly, do you want to wear something that shows who you are, which is a Christian, but doesn't look silly or even worse, just theologically incorrect? I want to introduce you to Wrath and Grace Clothing. They're a company that wants to provide you with clothes that you actually like, prices you can afford, and most importantly, they offer a sound biblical message that represents who you are as a Christian. From the message presented in the graphics to the fit and finish, they have made their company on first-rate designs and high-quality fabrics and inks, and offered at a price you can afford. Wrath and Grace Clothing. Their mission is to proclaim the wrath and the grace of a sovereign God, one shirt at a time. Go to wrathandgrace.com to check out all their designs. That's wrathandgrace.com.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Shalom. Every week on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman, we'll talk about issues in the Middle East, issues related to the Jewish tradition and religious traditions in general, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on around the world. You may know some of the story, but you haven't heard all of the story until you've heard it on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman and our special guests we have on every week.
Hi, I'm Doc. You listen to me every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Doc and Lefty radio podcast program, where we discuss all the relevant topics of the day, including state, local, and national politics. My partner in crime, Lefty, often likes to have a little bit of conservative justice served upon him, so please turn in for the fireworks every week from 6 to 7 p.m. on Tuesdays at webcastonelive.com. Thank you.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
When you find yourself in danger, when you're threatened by a stranger, when it looks like you will take a licking. Oh, the super chicken.
We know that there are a lot of great radio shows that you can be a fan of, but there is only one that's certified organic, free range, and cage free. Just like that hippie chicken you ate for dinner. This is a Rebel's Cause Radio.
That is right. We are just like a bunch of hippie chickens that you ate. No,
that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
I am far from a hippie.
Abort.
I have way too much aggression to be a hippie.
I think you're a hippie chicken.
No, I'm not a hippie chicken.
All right, this is a Rebels Cause Radio. We're coming back. We got some silly intros. We either got to serious them up or get new silly intros.
All we have to do is just kind of shore up those sound bites from the NBA Jam soundboard, and we've got that one back.
So we need really good intros, the ones that are meaningful and.
You want me to beatbox?
I know, it's all right. You know what?
We'll have
KTIA. We'll have KTIA develop our intros. They're usually a little better at doing that than John's ideas. This is a Rebels Cause. I am your host, Dan Frye. Joining me in studio, as always, John Wedgeworth, the occasional angry Kelly Lindbergh, and of course, producing this fine show, doing a great job, Mr. Ryan Northfield. I just about messed up your name, Ryan. I apologize. We've got an interesting show tonight. We've got a self-professed atheist on. Seitan Bruggencate probably is pulling out hair. What he's got left.
I say, doesn't have any hair.
Yeah,
How's he pulling it
it's
out?
what he's got left. He's probably pulling out
The
hair.
only way he can pull out his hair is with a razor.
He's probably shaving his head. Why are you guys
shaving his head very angry right now?
I'm
sorry. Calling, man.
I apologize. Please forgive us. Of course, we are talking with Christopher Maute. He is a host of a podcast on apparently a universalistic ministry, for lack of a better term. And we won't get into the theory of universalism or the theology of universalism on today's show. That will be on another show.
It's a ripe topic.
It is. It would actually be a fun topic to have. It's just not today's topic.
Yes. So watch us have some self-restraint here.
So in watching Mr. Maute on YouTube today, trying to give myself the crash course on who this guy is, because as you guys know, I'm not particularly fond of having atheists on my program because it's not what the program's for. It's not that I dislike them or that I'm scared to talk to them. Obviously, I'm not. We have one on. But it's just not really what the show's for. But we thought we might be able to make a beneficial conversation out of this.
And I think we will.
And I think so far it hasn't been entirely unhelpful anyway. Before the break, you said your biggest problem was people who didn't show a good scientific literacy. Is it?
Well, it's not people that don't show a good scientific literacy. It's when I guess when people's faith butts up against scientific literacy in the sense that I guess the best way for me to put it is my biggest concern is scientific literacy.
Sure.
So if anybody does anything to impact scientific literacy negatively, from my perspective, that gets my heckles up more than anybody's personal beliefs.
So give me an example so that I know what not to do here.
Okay, what not to do? Well, I mean, you can do whatever you'd like.
Sure.
I might challenge you in a nudging way.
Sure,
but give
me an example of what you're talking about.
Oh well, of course, people of a young Earth creationist bend would the whole young Earth issue would, of course, if you believe that, that's totally cool. If you want it to be taught in science class, I would take issue with that.
Okay. Why would you take issue with that?
Because I would say that the consensus of science and the evidence of science shows that the Earth is not, or the universe is not 6,000 years old. It is of a completely different order of magnitude.
Well, I would have a quick question about that. Go
ahead.
For science classes, it's not only consensus theories that are taught. So what would make, as presented as a theory, what would make creationism or young Earth science a uniquely prohibited field of study?
Well, methodological naturalism would prevent it from being taught in science classes. I'm not saying it shouldn't be taught in school. I'm saying it shouldn't be taught in science classes.
Okay.
Where would it be taught then? If it wasn't taught in science.
I think comparative religion class, philosophy, debate club.
But it seems to me that there are some really good minds that don't go with the consensus, if you will, on this issue. And so why would we not have a forum, a scientific forum, for them to discuss those ideas? I mean, it seems to me that the jury is not completely out. I mean,
I would concede that the majority of scientists would lean his direction.
Well, the majority of people would.
And I'll put my cards on the table. I think this majority is wrong. I think there's a lot of people that assume because the majority says this or that. Let's face it, in Christianity, we're quickly losing our majority standards, and we will face a world where we are not the majority, and that will be the testing of our faith. As far as the young Earth thing goes, I did watch one of your videos, and you had a guy on there, and one of the first questions you asked him was how old he thought the Earth was, how old he thought the universe was, which I thought was really interesting because he replied with dates and ages that, frankly, neither I nor in your perspective field are qualified to really give any real answer there. I don't know how old the Earth is. Now, I would typically be pretty friendly to the young Earth, young Earth positioning. However, I wouldn't. I know a lot of these guys are going to take this out of Genesis 1 and 2, right? That's where we have the creation story. I don't think the thrust or the purpose of Genesis, God's revealing that to Israel after the Exodus. I don't think the thrust of that was intended to give us a date.
It's not primarily a science text. I mean, it's not intended to be that. Even though I hold to it, I'm even more firmly young Earth than Dan is. But I will concede, I will concede that the primary thrust of Genesis 1 and 2 is not a scientific exposition.
Because what Genesis 1 and 2, where I think you're going to find a lot of the hang-ups, where people are trying to make scientific statements based off of that text, I think that text was to establish who God is, and that was He is God and there is none like Him. I think that is the thrust of Genesis 1 and 2, and that is the part of the age of the earth or whatever that I'm going to hold to. When it comes to creation, I hold to that God created it. It was uniquely created by God, and that He is God and there is none like Him. And that's what I'm going to take out of a Genesis. I'm not going to care to speculate, I guess, on the date or if there's gaps or not gaps. There's very smart men, much smarter than myself, and I cannot, with any type of humility, say that I have great, solid beliefs for my personal beliefs that the earth probably is a lot younger than science is speculating. One of my problems I would have with speculating something 4 billion years old is you want proof, well, not you, but in general, people ask proof from Christians, solid, hard timeline proof. And we have problems dating stuff back 2,000 years. And so when we start talking 4 billion years, 12 billion years, or whatever they're at, or 1,200, I don't know what the dates are. They keep getting bigger and bigger, it seems to me. And that could be ignorance on my part. Maybe they've always been the same and they've been presented differently. But all the same, we don't have any good way of guaranteeing me that. So to me, it's a faith issue either way.
I do think that both views are impossible without faith in the view.
Well, it depends on what you mean by faith. Now, this is something that I think is really interesting because I think that you've hit on something that is awesome. That is awesome for the sake of conversation. So, when you say faith, I think that it's that word is particularly equivocated in different contexts, right? So, I'm happy to say that I have faith, but when I say faith, it equals trust to me.
Okay.
But
okay.
That's same for me.
Yeah, same here.
So when I say faith, I have faith. I have faith in human kindness. I have faith in love. I have faith in a whole bunch of things. But that means to me that equals trust. Now I've seen that used before syntactically to say, oh, well then therefore you have a faith-based worldview.
Sure.
And
I've seen that too.
And when you do that, you're now using a colloquial term or usage of the word faith to mean like a more religiously laden definition of the word faith. And so like I kind of see that card game used a lot where it's like, okay, well that's faith. Yeah, it's faith. I have faith in that. Okay, well then you have a faith-based worldview. It's like, well, that's not. Well, that's
and I'm not trying to.
My car is a lemon. A lemon is a fruit. Therefore, my car is a fruit. It's
sure. And I'm not trying to do any of the silly games. And I've seen that done too. I'm simply saying that for me to believe that the Earth's 4 billion years old, or what do you believe? How you have an estimate as to how old you think the Earth could be?
Oh yeah, I accept the scientific literature that says that it's 4.55 billion years old.
So for you to make that, you're accepting or trusting a method that's revealed to scientists, and you're accepting as accurate. To me, all I mean by faith is simply that you're taking something that is at best hard to prove, and you're deciding that it's proven enough to you to hold as true.
It's a reliance on a general worldview, and also I would throw in the caveats that old Earth, fortuitous evolution, if you will, it has.
Can you explain that? Fortuitous evolution? Can you explain that, please?
The mechanistic process.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also don't want to pass myself off as a preeminent scientist. I don't have any sort of degrees in science or anything. I don't. My understandings of it are, like most of us, kind of superficial compared to the people who have studied it. Really studied it in depth for a long period of time. And I don't want to pretend to be smarter than I am. But fortuitous evolution, it does have a genesis, I mean, not the book of Genesis, but it has an origins narrative. It has an anthropology. It has an epistemology, and it has sometimes even an eschatology. I mean, so those are things that and I'm not saying that evolution is to you the same thing as our trust in God per se, but there's a lot of commonality. I mean, it's still a worldview that's based on trust that has all these elements like religious views do.
Well, I don't see evolution as a worldview because, I see science as super duper limited. Like, science is really only natural explanations to natural phenomenon.
Sure.
So, to see it as a worldview is kind of blowing it up to be a lot more than it is. And so I see evolution as being a part of science. And so evolution is really just a theory, and it's just a theory of, that explains the diversity of organisms once organisms came into play. Now, abiogenesis explains how things came into play. Is that the definitive theory? It's the theory that is most accepted right now.
Sure.
Is it the answer? Probably not. The more we learn, the more we, the more we find out, that the less we know. So I'm humbled.
You're breaking up.
By the fact I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're breaking up. It's all right.
1, 2.
We're going out to break anyway.
We're going on a break.
This is a Rebels Cause Radio. We will continue on with our discussion. We do have to, we're going to have to let them go here in about 15 minutes. We may pick them back up. We have another guest coming on for just a few minutes to tell us what they're doing. This is Rebels Cause Radio. We will see you right after this break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's gotta be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? You can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
Mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Don't just sit there. Get involved. This is a Rebels Cause Radio.
This is a Rebels Cause Radio. I am your host. They call me Papa Tat on the chat. Father Tattoo from the pew. Dan Frye about everywhere else. It's actually pretty much what I like to be called. And of course, we have John Wedgeworth. John, no than, no name, no way, no how, nada Wedgeworth.
Really, it's John, no nickname Wedgeworth.
Yeah, well, you know, that works too.
That works.
And then, of course, you got Angry Kelly Lindbergh.
I'm not really angry.
No, those
hey, you're the one with the email address, buddy.
And that came up like
lose the email address.
No, man, I've had that email address for years,
Well,
man.
then you're Angry
prior
Kelly.
to conversion,
I don't know what to tell you.
I gotta hold it. I gotta hold it.
So we're talking with a little bit of a different guest for us. And so far the conversation has been at least interesting, intriguing.
It's been interesting and it's been civil. I mean,
yeah, it's been very civil. I've been very pleased so far.
Yeah.
We're gonna take it. We were kind of on a track. Not that I minded where the track was going, but I want to go back to another point. I want to step back for a minute. Maybe we'll get back on track after that. But you said something really interesting, and Christopher Maute is the atheist joining us today. He is a host of his own Ustream, not YouTube. Ustream is, we're on Ustream. We're a Ustream show. We're also a live stream show. We're a Podbeam, a Stitcher,
a YouTube,
a
YouTube.
Are we still doing the other online streaming for just podcasts? What was that? Mixler? Are we on that? Did you forget to put it on? Is that what happened?
We're not on
You guys are
GeoCities.
everywhere, man. We have a lot to learn about the streaming thing. You guys are everywhere.
Well, we're not on GeoCities.
Yeah. We no longer have an Angel Fire website.
You're not on AOL.com. You don't send out the discs for AOL.com.
I do miss that whole little modem scream thing.
I
at
was
the
just
beginning,
thinking
though.
that.
Yeah. We don't have anything on Google, unfortunately, and we have too high tech of a studio for Google Plus. Believe it or not, we use FireWire here, and Google Plus is not capable of using FireWire because they rely on a slower connection to make it smooth, and so they don't use it. So,
which is too bad. Their service is really good.
Yeah, I would prefer to be on Google Plus rather than Skype for these kind of interviews.
Well, the 2 times I guest appeared on the Retro League, we used
Google Plus
is
really
great.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I was on Tim, the Bible thumping Wingnut show.
Okay.
And he uses Google Plus. And I thought it was pretty interesting because we could go back and forth. And Brian Peters and myself got into it was a debate. It was kind of a formal debate thing, trying to get atheists to concede that they were borrowing from a Christian worldview to establish their morals. This isn't that kind of conversation tonight. And frankly, I'm happy not to be in those kind of. It's really nice not to be in confrontation. Although at least 2 of the atheists out of the 4 that we debated were very friendly, and we got along great. We have a friendly one on Skype today, and that is Chris Maute. And you said something I found kind of fascinating. So you said you didn't want creationism taught in science, and it got my wheels spinning.
Go ahead.
I want to know, do you feel like it's okay to be taught in school at all?
Creationism? Absolutely.
Okay. And you kind of, we had a little bit of this, but do you feel like as a parent, I have a right to determine which type of science, whether it be creation or what you're putting forth as the accepted standard, should I have the right to dictate which one my child learns?
In the home.
Well, at school or wherever. I mean, my kids go to private school, so I kind of take that right, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I don't have children, so I don't have a dog in the race in this particular battle. This is more of a battle of ideas. So even though I'm all for scientific literacy, it's not specifically for a son or daughter that I have, but it's more for the nephews and nieces that I have, and for the future generations, and for the greater good of the United States population, because I think that it'll eventually benefit the United States population. That being said, what you teach at home as an amendment to what is taught at school is totally up to you. Now, are you talking about homeschooling, or are you talking
I'm
about...
talking about actually just insisting that my children go to a school that teaches what I believe to be true. How about, can we let's simplify it that way.
I think that teaching creationism instead of evolution is damaging.
Okay.
I think that not including what is the standard in sciences is handicapping your child.
So you would say that it's safe to say, growing up Catholic, then you were handicapped as a child.
I didn't go to Catholic school.
Okay, but you were taught by your parents that evolution was a lie, I'm assuming, or no?
No, I was pretty liberal. I had a pretty liberal household, and my parents pretty much told me if I had any questions that I should seek references, and they encouraged me to look at secular books, secular science books for those answers.
Okay. Well, I guess that's as honest an answer we can get from there on that subject.
Okay, and I think as someone who is a 6-day young Earth creationist, 6 to 10,000 years, I think that a person should have at least a functional understanding of the opposing views, if for no other reason. I mean, to put it, maybe this isn't the best way to put it, but for lack of a better way, as a know thine enemy. I mean, I wouldn't advocate ignorance of the opposing positions, but I don't want. I want that standard to be universally applied, and not the camp I represent kind of left out of the conversation in the scientific context.
Here's the caveat: which creation story is taught, because there are so many, and who gets to decide because if we taught all the creation stories, let's think about pragmatics. In school, when evolution is taught, when creation, or when the Big Bang, when origins is taught, whether it's in biology or in physics. The most bare bones version of it is taught to the youngest students, and then little by little more nuance is added until you get to the college level where tons of nuance is added. So, it's essentially pablum at first until eventually it is more and more nuance. Sure. So of all of the creation stories that exist, how many of them and which ones get put into the contradicting chapters to, balance the Big Bang or the abiogenesis story?
Well, I think that's dictated by the culture you're in. We live in a country that was founded at least loosely off of Christian morals,
and we know the stories. We know that it's debatable how Christian these guys really were.
I'm not trying to push.
It was a Christian. It was a generally Christian construct.
I would expect in a Hindu country that they would learn origins based off of Hinduism, and that's one of the beauties about Christianity is I'm not so concerned to the umph degree anyway with what children are taught, because I don't think God is a slave to any certain way of thinking as far as how you were brought up, because I think Christianity is more than just some kind of scientific theory that we can study and say, oh, this must be true because I reasoned it. I think it takes an act of faith, and that act of faith is enacted by the Holy Spirit.
God can change the heart of whoever. It doesn't have to be someone who was quote unquote shielded from opposing ideologies and theories and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess my only thing is what I would stand for is I don't think creationism should be taught to the exclusion of not understanding or having a basic understanding of what evolution, what the theory of evolution is. I went to Christian school. I knew what evolution was. We were taught it. Now, we were taught it with this is not something we believe, and we were given that caveat. But I don't think that hurt my understanding. In fact, to be honest, I'm not sure as a grown man and a professing Christian that I think it affected my denial of evolution in any matter, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's...
Well, I think, and this is probably going to get me in a little bit of trouble, but because I consider myself, a skeptic, I think that there is a dose of good in creationists critiquing and being skeptical of scientists and the scientific method. I think that there is...
we're going to break.
Because without somebody... Okay, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Skype cut you out because of our music. You're cutting out horrible because of the music. We are going to drop you for about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll pick you back up at the top of the hour. This is a Rebels Cause Radio. We're that show that wants you to read your Bibles, to go to church, a good church, a Bible-believing church, one that teaches the entire counsel of the Word of God, love Jesus, and forsake the world. This is Dan Frye, host of A Rebels Cause Radio, and I'm here to ask you a question. Are you tired of being marketed a second-rate product at a first-rate price? Or perhaps more importantly, do you want to wear something that shows who you are, which is a Christian, but doesn't look silly or even worse, just theologically incorrect? I want to introduce you to Wrath and Grace Clothing. They're a company that wants to provide you with clothes that you actually like, prices you can afford, and most importantly, they offer a sound biblical message that represents who you are as a Christian. From the message presented in the graphics to the fit and finish, they have made their company on first-rate designs and high-quality fabrics and inks, and offered at a price you can afford. Wrath and Grace Clothing. Their mission is to proclaim the wrath and the grace of a sovereign God, one shirt at a time. Go to wrathandgrace.com to check out all their designs. That's wrathandgrace.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit!
Here I come to save the day. That means that Mighty Mouse is on the way.
Don't just sit there, get involved. This is a Rebels Cause Radio.
That is right. This is a Rebels Cause Radio, and we are going to take a break from our conversation with Chris. We're going to try to reconnect with him. I felt kind of bad because we kind of cut him off, but we wanted to talk to one of our sponsors. Now, we've had a company come alongside us for the last couple months, and that's Wrath and Grace Clothing. And actually, John and I are wearing our brand new, designed by me, Wrath and Grace shirts.
You designed this.
These are mine.
Nice.
And this is the Keep Calm and Preach On shirt. Everybody is kind of a trend right now, right? The Keep Calm and Chive On, Keep On Calm. And
remember that fire kills everything.
Yeah, you see them all over. I don't even know what most of them mean, but this one has, of course, 2 Timothy on it. Be ready to preach in and out of season. I don't know the whole verse. John, turn around. Let me read the whole verse for you. So be ready in and out of season to reprove, rebuke, extort, and with complete patience and teaching. So it's 2 Timothy 4:2.
You don't have that memorized?
I don't. I really don't. Unfortunately, you can turn around, John. You're not on camera anymore.
You got to see my back.
But Johan, tell us what other shirts are available. Johan is one of the we call him Jay. He is one of the owners of Wrath and Grace. What other shirts are you guys developing right now? Jay. Hello. Did we lose Jay already?
Either that or he's just playing a prank on us.
Well, he fought me coming on. The bad news for him is I have his phone number. So he's calling me
probably
right now.
him right
Is he calling you on the cell phone?
So we'll have Kelly give that to Ryan and hook that up. But anyway, they've got these shirts. They are available at wrathandgrace.com. They've got a couple other shirts they developed. The Wolf and Sheep's Clothing shirt, which is one of their newest endeavors. Of course, they now have on their website the 5-point Calvinism, the tulip shirt, which is a very neat design with a tulip kind of in the forefront of a cityscape, kind of graffiti-esque background. Hopefully we'll get Johan on here to tell us a little bit more about what they've been up to. You can find these shirts either at wrathandgrace.com
or at a lot of the hip hop events across the country. These guys are popping up. So, if you don't get one online, you can certainly pick one up there. They have some new things. There is a promotional code for a Rebels Cause Radio, and we'll have, I don't remember what it is, so we'll have to have him on. But that's where we're at. In the news this week, of course, we blogged about Miley Cyrus. Luke's got at least 2 blogs up. There's one about food, and then the one of them was like he was going to, it was the end of the world and he knew it, I guess. So that's always there. If we can't connect with Johan, I think we're just going to skip back. Are we? Is he on the phone? Oh, hey, Johan, man. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
Man, you were trying not to get on the radio today.
I got a busy life, man. I'm really busy.
Yeah.
But I always have time for you guys.
Yeah, that's right. So tell us a little bit about what you guys got going on right now with Wrath and Grace.
All right. Wrath and Grace. Memorize that. Wrath and Grace, Wrath and Grace, Wrath and Grace. Really easy to memorize. Really what we're doing is, of course, we just dropped the Keep Calm and Preach On, designed by, of course, you.
Yep.
Or your idea or whatnot. And we, let me see. We dropped them like last week. We have completely sold out of the 3Xs and the larges due to the fact that we were selling them. We sold them this weekend at an event, and then since I guess you posted up on Facebook, we sold about 10 shirts yesterday, which kind of left me with no more larges and 3Xs.
Good deal.
Or extra larges. There's some size that we don't have. I can't remember exactly which one it is. But this one's definitely one of our biggest sellers. A lot of people really like them, so kudos to you.
All right. So there's a way that people who want to buy these shirts can get a discount by listening to my show. What is that?
Yes, you go on wrathandgrace.com. There's a coupon promotional code, and it's the only one that we have so far, and it's Rebels.
All right, so Rebels, and that'll get you what discount does it get you?
That'll give you a 10% discount.
10% discount, and that'll go across. It's more than just one item. It's your entire order.
The entire order, 10%.
All right. What upcoming events are you going to be at here in the next couple weeks?
Let me see. I know we got the Kingdom Choice Awards on September 28th. I have to look at my calendar. I know I got a show tomorrow in Jacksonville, Florida, with one of the artists that we work with, Godspeed. We have we're doing the Hero Society thing with Jeff Rose and
Jeremiah Cry.
Jeremiah Cry and them, and we actually designing the shirt for them, which it's a not keep calm and carry on, or keep calm and preach on. It's a No King But Christ shirt. Actually, the shirt I think is probably one of the best designs that we've made so far.
Except for the keep calm.
Yeah, except for the keep calm apparently. But yeah, we'll have that show. I got an award show. I have Zion, one of the artists that we co-labor with. He's on a Soli Deo Gloria tour. He has an album release that we're going to be dropping his album soon, and I think it's in Savannah, and the other one's like in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So we have a lot of events coming up.
Okay.
And we've been doing a lot of events, so it's definitely, the Lord's definitely been just blessing us, man, by allowing us to even go out there, and people really like our clothing and whatnot, because as you've already mentioned before, it's not a Hanes BCP. This is actually clothing from scratch,
Sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us a call, Jay. We will be talking with you and checking in with you as you release new designs. Really staying behind these guys. We do ask you guys, as my listening audience, if you do see a shirt you like, to go ahead and take advantage of the discount, pick it up. This is Rebels Cause Radio. We've spent the majority of this hour talking to an atheist. We didn't yell. We didn't scream at each other. We didn't throw things. We weren't angry. We heard him out. We're going to continue to hear him out in the last half hour of the show as we continue on with our conversation. If you want to hear that, go to YouTube. It'll be there, rebelscause.com. You'll find it there. Go to iTunes, Podbeam, anywhere else we can be downloaded. You can find that all on our page at rebelscause.com. We're that show that wants you to read your Bible. Yeah, It's a crazy idea, but read it. Read all about it. Read Charles Hodge's commentaries. Read John Calvin's commentaries. You know, there's other commentaries that are also very good. Of course, go to church, a good Bible-believing church, one that teaches the entire counsel of the Word of God. The center of the gospel, the center of Scripture, it is all centered around Christ. Love Jesus Christ and forsake the world. This is a Rebels Cause Radio. This is Dan Frye, host of a Rebels Cause Radio, and I'm here to ask you a question. Are you tired of being marketed a second-rate product at a first-rate price? Or perhaps more importantly, do you want to wear something that shows who you are, which is a Christian, but doesn't look silly or even worse, just theologically incorrect? I want to introduce you to Wrath and Grace Clothing. They're a company that wants to provide you with clothes that you actually like, prices you can afford, and most importantly, they offer a sound biblical message that represents who you are as a Christian. From the message presented in the graphics to the fit and finish, they have made their company on first-rate designs and high-quality fabrics and inks, and offered at a price you can afford. Wrath and Grace Clothing. Their mission is to proclaim the wrath and the grace of a sovereign God, one shirt at a time. Go to wrathandgrace.com to check out all their designs. That's wrathandgrace.com.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
My name is Justin Bennett with Strong Tower Consulting, where we passionately coach individuals, families, and businesses to make better financial decisions that help create success and eliminate financial stress. I offer a free 30-minute consultation where we find out where your situation is. I explain how I do my coaching services. Then it's up to you whether you want to continue. The Bible has, depending on who you believe, 800 to 2,000 scriptures that talk about money alone. So it's a pretty important subject in God's eyes. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing, is help them see God's ways of handling money. You know, it's interesting. Most people that I ask, what would it be like to be debt-free? The common response is, I don't know. I don't think it's possible. But in 90 days, most of my clients go from, I don't think it's possible, to, I'm excited. In 2 years or less, I will be debt-free. There's no tricks, no gimmicks, nothing being sold here. It's just learning how to do money well. This is Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we help people go from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan.
I'm Michael Libby. I'm the host of Insight on Business, the News Hour. We're seen live at 8:45 each Monday morning at Webcast One Live, or whenever you want on my blog or on the internet. So what qualifies me to talk about advertising, marketing, and consumer trends? Well, it's my business. Insight Advertising, Marketing, and Communications has helped dozens of companies, small, medium, and large, learn how to use advertising correctly, and we pass that information on to you each and every week.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help, somebody
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray, we're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
We point our doozies right at all those non-tithing members because we want God to come to church. And at the count of 3 Jesuses, we shoot them all dead. Say what? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the world, dog. Say what again? Say what again?
I believe that Jesus is the way to the one God, but I believe there are many paths to Jesus.
That don't make no sense.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense, sir.
Evidently, Mr. Ringo's an educated man. How I really hate him.
You know what happens when you compromise and men finally get an opportunity to preach the gospel? Having compromised and sinned against God, you know what? If you preach the gospel, even if you compromise and get an opportunity to eventually preach the gospel, some are going to mock you, some will hear you further, and some will believe. You know what happens when you don't compromise and God opens an opportunity for you to preach the gospel? Some will mock you, some will listen to you further, and some will believe. So why bother compromising in the first place?
Welcome back to the second hour of A Rebel's Cause Radio with your host, that tattooed freak of a man, Dan Frye.
That is right. I am that tattooed freak of a man. They call me Dan Frye, or Papa Tat, or Father Tattoo, or well, there's other names. We can't repeat them on the radio, so we shan't.
Don't even put the idea in people's head.
Yeah. Normally, this show is all about Christians, edifying Christians. It is an intramural conversation, if you will, right? Did I say that right, John? You're the corrector of words here.
Intramural.
Yeah.
You're talking now intermural. Outside the circle.
Yeah, I'm saying, but normally it's an intramural.
Intramural.
Yeah, intramural conversation amongst Christians, talking to Christians. We're criticizing other forms of Christianity, or we're accepting other forms of Christianity. We're always in the Christian worldview. That is purposeful. That is where the show will continue to be. But today we do something a little different. Basically, I'll just be honest with you guys. We're lazy and we didn't schedule any guests. And so,
I have an excuse. I'm moving.
Yeah.
Tomorrow and day after tomorrow.
So we were going to talk about whatever and just make it one of those general off the cuff kind of shows that we do every once in a while. They're actually usually pretty good, but we had an opportunity because we didn't have a guest booked, and we had an atheist contact us asking if we would be interested in having a conversation, and so we took him up on that. And so far, for the last hour, it's been a very tame conversation. We've had some questions. I feel like he's answered them to the best of his ability. I hope he feels that we're doing the same and being honest and forthright with our conversations. No aha moments. Nobody's tried to trap anybody. Just honest questions. As we kind of get back into the conversation, Chris Maute is the guest. John Wedgeworth is in the studio. Of course, we have Kelly Lindbergh here. Kelly is... Well, you've been kind of silent today.
Man, you guys are intelligent, bro. I'm just like...
We only give off the illusion of intelligence.
This is all a sham.
Yeah, well, I know that because I know you off the mic. But I mean, you got this good facade going right now and this guy on the other end, man, he's got some, he's
no dummy.
He's no dummy.
Yeah,
so,
I appreciate that.
I'm just trying to not get myself in the water.
You just don't want to get burned, right?
brother.
Yeah.
I'm along for the ride.
So
loving it though.
So to bring Chris back into the conversation, Chris, when you left, you said skeptical. You used the word that you're skeptical. Can you what did you mean by that? Could you define that a little bit more?
I would say that atheism is a branch of skepticism. I would say skepticism is an umbrella term. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, I'm Italian American, so I use my hands to talk constantly.
Oh, that's not only Italian, I'm Norwegian and English, and if I get amputated, I can't communicate nearly as well.
Oh, no, I would not be able to finish the sentence if somebody tied my hands behind my back. So umbrella term, yeah. A skeptic is like an umbrella term under which atheism, I would say, is like a branch of skepticism. So I'm skeptic, I'm a skeptic in general. And what I like about creationists is that they bust chops of scientists. And some scientists have no idea what to do when the scientific method is challenged, when the philosophy of science is challenged, and I like watching scientists who haven't thought about the science that they engage in get challenged. Sure. Because I think that that's as satisfying to me as anybody who is strident in their opinion that hasn't thought about it, getting their opinion exposed to be as vacuous as it is.
Sure.
So, and I love the fact that creationists are really forcing scientists to have the ability to articulate what it is about the scientific method that is of value, while at the same time admitting that it is humbling that the more we know, the more we find out, the less we know.
Sure. John, you were going to say something?
Go ahead.
Well, no. Finish that train of thought.
Oh, that was pretty much the end of the train of thought.
Yeah, I thought he was over.
Yeah, it was pretty much like I'm happy with that facet of creationists busting scientists' chops. And I was as I was saying before the break last time, that might get me in a little bit of trouble because there are atheists that are like, you're not allowed to say anything nice about creationists.
Well,
they are out there.
Yeah, you do get those guys, and again, I don't really want to pigeonhole or stereotype any of them. You do get the angry atheists, you get the angry Christians, and I'm not sure which one's worse. I mean, to be honest, as far as intramural conversations, Christians can become very hard to deal with. Belligerent is a word I would use. There no ecumenicism at all, even where it would be appropriate. So I understand that, but I don't want to stereotype all atheists one way or the other. Though I do acknowledge that there are different. There's a spectrum, I guess. Let's use that. There's a spectrum.
I appreciate you acknowledging that because, but as an atheist, in the same sense that I'm Italian, I feel comfortable calling Italians Guidos and things like that.
I'll make your day go wop, 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 but that's...
That's bad.
I'm a second generation Italian guy. I can do whatever I want.
You're allowed to say things like that.
That's right.
But
my great-grandparents came over on the boat.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, my great-grandparents came over on the boat. I got pictures of them in my house with their documented passes because we do not come from a without pass family.
Yeah, you're not without papers. You're definitely not a WAP.
But anyway, that's probably not actually appropriate. Thankfully, we're not actually on radio, so that joke they'll just get lost into the interweb.
I was just going to pretend it never happened.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to I like Italian. You get the thing about Italian. No matter how little Italian you have, like I'm a quarter Italian. This guy's obviously at least half or more. It doesn't matter how much Italian you have. I've met guys that are like 1/8 Italian, and they will tell you they are Italian.
Yeah, but I think we got to be careful, man, because I watch a lot of movies, and anytime that two Italian guys start arguing, one of those Italian guys ends up not being with us anymore.
You watch too many movies.
Yeah, you watch way too many movies.
There's no mafioso, okay? We don't know nothing about it.
Look, we don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, that's right.
That's rule number one.
Okay, so back to a better and more germane conversation. We digress.
So what I was saying is, being an atheist, I have no problem busting atheist chops, and I think that atheists, militant atheists, are far worse than militant Christians, because militant atheists are trying to be like they're trying to emulate the most shrill icon possible, and that is Richard Dawkins.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? At least like militant Christians in an ideal world are trying to be Christ-like and are a little misguided. Militant atheists are purposely trying to be like a shrill person.
That's a very interesting observation.
That's a fair statement.
Or Richard Dawkins. It's like they're purposely trying to be that sans intelligence.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's a lot of atheists that I could respect. I think would have weighty arguments that we'd have to kind of deal with, that we should be able to deal with, should have to deal with. This might get me in trouble now.
Uh-oh.
I have zero respect for Richard Dawkins. I think the man is a clown, an absolute clown.
Well, I think like anybody, okay, so no matter whether it's religion or science or mathematics or whatever, whenever you get somebody that kind of claims to be the front runner, they're kind of a joker. I mean, look at the leaders of Christian faith. Joel Osteen, clown. Yeah,
gotcha. Joel Osteen doesn't represent me any more than Richard Dawkins represents you.
Yeah, and so you got some of these. Rick Warren, who is better than Joel Osteen, but that's about the only thing I can say.
The only thing I'd say is he's more subtle, so that actually makes him even more dangerous.
Well, and you're less generous with it than I am. But I mean, these guys. So whenever you get those guys, so I kind of ignore. The atheist I really actually appreciated as much as a Christian can appreciate an atheist anyway. I actually thought Christopher Hitchens asked brilliant questions of Christians.
Yes.
And I agree. I appreciated that because he pushed the philosophical bounds of Christianity and made you have answers. And I thought that was beneficial. I don't like that he died an atheist. I'm not saying that his atheism was good necessarily, but that he did ask good questions.
Well, we have no evidence to assume that no evidence that shows he changed before the.
Well, I wasn't going there, but yeah.
We never know. We don't know what happened inside his head in the final moments, but by all appearances, he died an atheist. Yes,
sure. So I mean, but that is one thing. Like I think out of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, I do like Hitchens probably the best. Sam, what is his name? Sam Harris. I read a little bit of his stuff. He seemed a little more angry in his writing than I cared for.
I don't know if I'm more impressed with Hitchens' arguments. He's just a more affable guy.
Well, Hitchens he's kind of like this guy, right? He's willing to have a conversation. He asked questions that I thought pushed philosophically the bounds of Christianity because he didn't get hung up on the science necessarily. I mean, he could.
Well, Dawkins also jumped the shark with the God delusion. He went from science world to philosophy world, and guess what? As a scientist, you should be respected for your science.
Sure.
Like, in other words, I'm not going to ask a hairdresser what her philosophy of physics is. In the same sense, I'm not going to go to a physicist to get my hair done.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you. I agree
philosophical underpinnings of what a scientist thinks might have some validity, but a book's worth of them on a subject as important as God? Come on.
I agree. I like that you said as important.
I appreciate that.
I like that you said it as important as God. Because
let's face it. I mean, it's an important topic. How could anybody deny that that's an important topic?
And yet, how many people treat it like it's not important?
I think that's ridiculous. I mean, and that could be easily, and I'm gonna lay myself bare. I mean, I'm gonna try to be as honest as possible with you guys. That argument could be used against me, right? Like, as an atheist, why is God so important to me? That could easily be used as an argument against my atheism.
That is actually typically my argument when I meet an atheist that is proselytizing for atheism. I don't speak against Buddha. I don't speak against Hindu. I don't make it my mission to go to Hindus and Buddha and speak against it. I speak for my position, but I don't speak against. And so because I don't believe in them, I don't feel like I need to waste a lot of breath addressing them. And so when an atheist comes to me and wants to speak to me particularly about my God, because the one thing, and I don't care if you can see this or not, but that I've noticed is that most atheists are only concerned primarily with Christianity. And the reason may be that it's the dominant worldview here in the States comparatively to the rest of them. But I don't see even in the Middle East it really being pushed towards Islam or anything like that where we wouldn't be dominant.
Okay, I think there's a spiritual reason for that. But to put that aside,
no, tell me about it. Don't put it aside. Tell me the spiritual reason.
Romans 1.
Okay, so it's that I know God exists, it's that I'm suppressing it.
Look, I don't tend to judge people's hearts except for where Scripture explicitly does. And then
by the way,
when
I'm not
Scripture,
challenging you. I'm clarifying.
Right, yeah. So yeah, but I'm basically saying yes. I don't tend to judge people's hearts except for where Scripture explicitly does, and then I make it a point to not do that.
Yeah, he's referring to Romans 1:18.
You've got it correct. Why don't you read it?
For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world. Which ties back into my point of Genesis, is not to scientifically break down what happened at creation. It is to establish that God, in fact, created it.
Well, and also, you can correct me on the name. I don't remember the guy's name. Sir Arthur Keith, maybe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. But the foreword to it's either Origin of the Species or The Descent of Man. In the foreword, he says something to the effect of evolution is unproven and unprovable. We believe it because the alternative, particular creation, is incredible. And I hear Romans 1 in that very plainly. But I wasn't necessarily intending to go down the Romans 1 road. I think there's a spiritual reason for why the Christian God gets the majority of the fire from atheists in Romans 1. But there's also a practical reason why I think we have a lot less atheists going nuts in Muslim countries, and that's because here you're not likely to get your head cut off.
Yeah, it's a very pragmatic reason, certainly.
Yes.
So, and also, I mean, it's very culture bound, and I can give you a very personal reason, and it is because I was raised Roman Catholic. I know more about Christianity, even though Catholicism is a specific version of Christianity, and it may not be the version of Christianity that is, the one that you gentlemen abide by.
It certainly is not.
But at the same time, it is, it is born out of the Bible, and I read the Bible growing up, and so I have a familiarity with it, and it's something that I strayed from. So so I'm super curious to know of the people that didn't stray from it, or better yet, of the people that gravitated towards it. What is that all about? I'm super curious about individual differences that account for reality. So, and I love to explore that, and I love to have conversations about that. And admittedly, in this country, most people, are Christian as far as religious denominations go. And so, and I'm also not one of the atheists that's going to ask you to prove your God, provide evidences for your God. I'm not going to challenge your faiths. Like I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, the only time I'm really going to bust chops is if you are going to demand that creationism be taught in the scientific classroom. And then I'm just going to be like, yeah, I don't agree with that. I'm going to challenge that, so let's have a conversation about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't feel like having that conversation, but I do demand.
Oh, no.
And maybe we can have you on at some point and do that. I don't know, but that's not the idea for today.
He's saying that he wants to have that conversation right now.
No. I'm not trying to direct it there.
Okay, exactly. I do think there is grounds as Christians. I mean, here's the reality that I would answer you with. Is we claim a faith that we will believe till the death, right? I mean, that's one of the things about Christianity. If you've read the Bible, you study it, you know that Jesus says that we will suffer persecution even up onto death, right? Like sheep were being led to slaughter all day long. It's very apocalyptic language when it comes to our faith, and that we very well could die for it, right? So I believe something to the point of where I am saying, at least in a perfect world, that I would take a bullet rather than denounce Christ. Now, I get to that moment, I don't know. Maybe I fail. I'm not trying to make some bold statement like "come hold a gun to my head."
Well, St. Peter failed. I mean,
sure.
Sure.
But I'm saying I believe something so strongly, so of course I'm going to insist it be taught. I mean, I'm obligated by the very nature of my belief.
So you're committed to that value, and I have values that I'm committed to as well.
And I can respect that. I don't have a problem with an atheist or a Buddhist or a Hindu or whatever being committed to a different value. And yes, I did just lump you in with a bunch of other religions because I do kind of think of atheism as a religion, although
and I do too.
I mean that,
and we can have a discussion about that too. I mean, I've heard that as well, and it really has to do with the definition of terms. Like what are you considering a religion?
Well, I think there's a valid conversation there. We got 10 minutes. Probably not going to pack that one tonight.
Talk fast, bro.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think there's but you would understand why a Christian would insist upon that, right?
Would insist upon the thing that they value being taught.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, from a subjective point of view, but when that subjective point of view isn't coherent to, and I don't want to appeal to authority or majority, but consensus among experts is not an appeal to majority. A consensus among experts contradicting what your subjective opinion is, then that might be the time to acquiesce.
Well, it comes down to ultimate authority. I mean, it sounds like the ultimate authority in this thing here is, for you, it's the scientific consensus. And you might be okay with certain parts of the Bible where they don't conflict with the scientific consensus. And for someone like me, whose ultimate authority is Scripture, I'm not anti-science per se. I think that there's been tremendous benefits from science. I mean, I'm a big retro video game nerd. That couldn't happen without science. But my ultimate authority is Scripture, and I'm fine with anything that doesn't run afoul of that.
Well, and let's go back here for a second. It piggybacks off the ultimate authority thing, but I don't really have a problem with science being used, and I want to make
I don't have a problem.
I want to be very clear with that. Things work in a certain way. I don't care if a star appears to be 40 billion years old because that's measured. I believe in a God so powerful he speaks things into existence at the age that he speaks them into existence at. Adam wasn't a child when we talk about it, because I do believe in a literal Adam. I don't believe Adam was created as a child. I don't believe a star was created as an infant star either. It doesn't bother me that science would play out to show things old or young or vice versa. It actually doesn't keep me up at night.
The appearance of age doesn't necessarily equate to the exactitude of age.
Well, and creation itself speaks to that. I mean, that's part of that is God created a finished product, not a chicken before or an egg before the chicken kind of.
That's a good point. The only worldview that creationism can actually answer the question: what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, but we believe in a God that does that. So science, like, I don't have a problem with at least evolution,
adaptation. We see that with dogs.
Yeah.
But I want to see a dog. I want to see a dog become a bird, or maybe go the other way around. But
sure, I would like to. I don't think like fossil records answer as much. It doesn't sound like you would try to hinge off that, but like you, some of the things that irritate me is when people get on their kicks, right? And they're trying to proselytize us, and they speak as if they're scientists, and they don't have the authority of a scientist. They're reading something. They're probably reading outside of their understanding. I certainly
they went to talkorigins.com.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of guys that copy and paste. And one of the things that. And this is with my Christianity. One thing that is, if I'm going to walk down this road, I want to actually know it. I don't want to know the opinions of men. I want to understand what God is saying. And that involves studying. That involves studying the original languages. That involves studying commentaries about other guys that were closer to the events, talking about what was going on. There's a lot of things going in there. That involves philosophy, because let's face it, the Bible has a lot of philosophy.
Sure.
You need to have a good grasp of philosophy to understand what Jesus is saying. You need to have a good grasp on philosophy to understand what Paul was saying. In fact, Paul, when he goes into the unknown God scenario, right, when he's in Athens and he's talking to the Greeks, he philosophizes with them. I mean, that's what he does. Mm-hmm. So these things I'm working towards being an expert. I can't stand it when the pet peeve I have with atheists, and I'm not saying you're that. You led with your credentials. I'm satisfied that you haven't gone outside the bounds of your credentials. But a lot of these guys are speaking with absolutely no credentials on both sides of the argument, and that is frustrating because they speak in absolutes and as if something is absolutely true because they, by their authority, they've deemed it so, and I feel like that's a faulty argument.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be the first to admit, I certainly do put my trust and my acceptance into the idea of men, sure. and not necessarily authority, but I do think that the methods of science are concise enough to prevent and put up enough firewalls to prevent things like cognitive biases and heuristics from interfering or confounding the theories that are in play.
And you have more faith in men than I do.
I'm of a belief that everyone has a presupposition, and empirical is always the slave to the precept. That's why you and I can look at the same piece of evidence, agree with everything inductive about that piece of evidence, 100%, and yet come away with completely different deductive conclusions. I think that we're bound to our precepts.
I think that that's true to an extent, but if we were going to get into the precept discussion,
I'd have Dustin and Cy on if you wanted to get into that. I have
I
have no desire to get into precepts.
I was talking to Dustin about this, and he and I had an interesting conversation about the fact that, cognitive science, because presuppositions are assumptions, cognitive science accounts for assumptions. It accounts for cognitive events like assumptions, of which presuppositions are based on. So, I mean, if it's not so much that atheists are borrowing from the Christian worldview, in as much that both atheists and theists are borrowing from a secular furniture of the universe to strengthen both of their worldviews.
Except that I don't know how well the secular worldview can account for that. It's kind of like some people would say
we got
that
5 minutes.
Yeah, we really don't have time to get into that really, but
I just want to. I'm trying to keep people on track here. Here's the deal. I mean, we invited this guy on. I didn't expect to change his worldview. I did want to converse with him. I was hoping to give a gospel message at this point. It hasn't been appropriate so far. Although we do
have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know I have 5 minutes. I'm still trying to work it in there, but I don't want to be wedged.
You just worked it in.
I know. I would hate to tell this guy that I believe that mankind has fallen, that Jesus Christ was born of a Virgin Mary, lived a perfect life, was crucified on our behalf, died, buried, and most importantly, of first importance, was resurrected and lives in heaven now, where we will also be resurrected, those who have faith to heaven and those who do not have faith to somewhere much less pleasant. So other than that, I mean, that was kind of I really want to do that. I did work that in there. Sorry, that's a little corny, but I don't feel like it would be appropriate to have an atheist on and not at least talk about the idea that we believe in a risen Christ.
Well, and I think that you understand that if we believe. Okay, I know everyone's blowing the pendulette.
I'm so tired of pendulette.
But I thought it was.
Oh, no, you're obligated.
I thought it was right. I mean, if we think that you're a blind man heading towards a cliff, the loving thing to do is say, "Blind man, stop," and maybe you could show us, "Hey, I'm not actually blind. See, hey, this actually isn't a cliff. See." But the loving thing to do is to react. He's heading off a cliff, and I appreciated that you recognized that. I mean, you at least realize that. Okay, not 100% of the time, not with everyone, but as a majority rule, Christian evangelism is a love-driven thing.
Yeah, well,
I was just about to say, you guys, when you do that, when you say the gospel, when you deliver the gospel message to me, you're not doing it to bust my chops and to make me feel like a jerk. You're actually speaking out of love.
That's my hope. I mean, sometimes
it's not always the case, but it's the goal.
Sometimes we're sinners, and that's one thing I want to be really clear is I don't have any preconceived notion that I am not a sinner. I am definitely a sinner. My motives are not always pure. My delivery isn't always as crisp as I like. My faith is not in my delivery, though, Chris. My faith is in the God behind it, the Holy Spirit working in your heart, plucking at your strings. Which, frankly, I wouldn't put that past him at this point because you're polite, you're asking good questions, you're considering things. You said you're skeptical. I'm not. As far as atheists go, you're not the most concerning atheist I've ever met. So I do. I hope I'm doing it out of love, but there is times, and I want to be one of the people to acknowledge there is times Christians don't do it out of love. That doesn't mean that God can't use it, that it won't be effective. But the motives of every Christian are not always loving. There are people who want to lord over you, that they are somehow better than you because of what Christ has done, which is not, I hope, what I'm trying to do. I don't think I'm better. I don't think I'm smarter. If anything, I think I'm lucky that God spoke in my heart.
We don't believe in luck.
Well, providential.
You're providentially blessed.
Yeah.
And even people who 99% of the time are doing it based out of love, they might have a day where, they're crabby and so they blast someone, or none of us believe in a quota system. But let's say, man, I haven't evangelized anyone in 3 months. I really need to find someone to evangelize. Maybe that might not be so much love motivated. That might be more self-gratifying or
self-fulfilling prophecy or something.
Self-fulfilling.
Yeah. This is a Rebels Cause Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. We appreciate it. Greg, we see you on the chat, debating with our friends on the chat. We appreciate you being here as well. we're that show. Regardless of what you believe, we want you to read the Bible, right? That's where we're getting our source of truth. That's where we're speaking from and what speaks to us. That is our method of conversing with God, that and prayer. So read your Bible, read books about it, read commentaries. That's the best advice I can give you. Of course, go to church. Go to a good church, a Bible-believing church, one that's not afraid to actually tell you what the Bible says and doesn't tell you what they think you want to hear. Love Jesus Christ. And forsake the world. This is a Rebels Cause Radio.
Hey, Mr. Preacher Man, hey, preacher, help me understand. Help me. Where will I stand in light of this judgment? I heard this work was sin from this Christian who mentioned I needed to be born again and forgiven. I tell him no, sir, I'm still seeking. Plus anyway, I think I heard the same stuff from a Muslim, that if I pray 5 times I could get to him and just do many works like a good Mormon. So please stop preaching, you're getting real annoying. Plus you keep judging, that's only God's judgment. Plus I do a lot of good, so I'm a good person. Yes, I give to many churches, I never hurt no person, I never robbed no person. Stop finger pointing, we all messed up. Ain't nobody perfect, so stop judging and tell me how you